Bill, your mic's on.
I've turned it off.
We are live.
Okay, just bear with me 1 second. Hold on 1 sec. I appear to have lost. There we go. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's special council meeting. Due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Region Public Health to exercise physical distancing, City Hall is only open for select services by appointment only. Members of the public have been invited to participate in this meeting electronically by accessing the meeting live stream video at kitchener.ca/watchnow. While in-person delegation requests are not feasible at this time, members of the public have been invited to submit written comments or participate electronically in the meeting by contacting delegation@kitchener.ca. Delegates must register by 2 p.m. on February 22nd, so that was at 2 p.m. today, in order to participate electronically. Written comments that have been received would be circulated prior to the meeting and would form part of the public record. We have 3 items on the in-camera agenda today. Does someone care to move it? Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Schneider. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Ioannidis, seconded by Councillor Michaud. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, great. So we
Councillor Singh is back now.
thanks.
We are live, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's council meeting. Due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Region Public Health to exercise physical distancing, City Hall is open for select services by appointment only. Members of the public have been invited to participate in this meeting electronically by accessing the meeting live stream video at kitchener.ca/watchnow. While in-person delegation requests are not feasible at this time, members of the public were invited to submit written comments by contacting delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received will be circulated prior to the meeting, or have been circulated prior to the meeting, and will form part of the public record. As is customary, we'll begin this evening's meeting with a land acknowledgement. Today, we gather on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. I would now invite everyone to stand as they're able in their viewing circumstances for the singing of our national anthem. And I'll remind council to turn off their cameras just because camera views may be awkward otherwise. It's been moved by Councillor Singh that the minutes of the regular meeting held January 25th and the special meeting held January 25th as mailed to the mayor and councillors be accepted. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, we'll now move on to communications. And I will note that there is an open letter to Ontario Municipal Councils that from the AMCTO dated February 18th. And I'll direct that this be referred, that the communications be referred as listed on the agenda. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We'll now move into presentations. And council colleagues, I know you're all aware that this is Black History Month. And at the beginning of the month, we, on behalf of the city of Kitchener and council, we issued the following statement to recognize Black History Month and the many African, Caribbean, and Black individuals and organizations in our community. February marks the beginning of Black History Month, a time dedicated to honoring the legacy and contributions of Black Canadians, both past and present. Ontario is home to the largest Black population in Canada, originating from over 150 countries around the world. Locally, members of the African, Caribbean, and Black communities have a long and meaningful history of contributing to the fabric and culture of our community, and those important contributions continue today. Over the past year, we have once again been reminded of the important leadership role members of our local African, Caribbean, and Black communities continue to play in creating much needed and long overdue changes to our organizations, our institutions, and our governments. Their strength of leadership has had a truly meaningful impact, and it has rallied many in our community to join efforts in working towards change, as was most evident by the strong support shown for the Black Lives Matter march that took place last June. Due in large part to the leadership of the local Black community, we are seeing more residents than ever engage in the vital work of fighting anti-Black racism, dismantling systemic barriers, and working towards a more equitable community. As we reflect on the many contributions members of the local African, Caribbean, and Black community have made over many decades, even in the face of ongoing oppression and anti-Black racism, the City of Kitchener can and must do better, both as an employer and as a municipality. Both myself and our council are firmly committed to pushing for much needed change within our organization, including making changes to our policies, services, supports, and hiring practices, to name a few. Although we've been unable to gather in person this year to celebrate Black History Month, it's been exciting to know that a number of virtual events have been organized by several Black-led community groups and others, and we've seen significant participation as a result of that. This evening, it's my pleasure to recognize and welcome three members of our local community, Loris DaCosta, Marcia Smelly, and Lisbeth Haddad, to present and speak to the Hymn to Freedom project. Hymn to Freedom in recognition of Canadian Black history. And this video was created to recognize and celebrate some of the many contributions Black Canadians have made to this country and our community. Please join me and all of our council and community in honoring and celebrating the perseverance, strength, and rich cultural history of our African, Caribbean, and Black members of our community. And now I invite our delegation to come forward and make their presentation, followed by the video. Welcome, Ms. DaCosta. And are you speaking on behalf of all three of you? I think you might need to unmute yourself. There we go.
Yeah. No, I think Marcia and I know that Marcia and Liz are also looking on. So at the end, if there are any questions, please feel free. Mr. Mayor and councillors, thank you very much for asking me to speak to Hymn to Freedom. I asked ahead of time if you would be kind enough to Google and have a look at the Balm and Gilead version of Lift Every Voice and Sing. It is considered the American Black national anthem. And I'm not sure what and how you felt after you looked at it, what the imageries and the words of the song conveyed to you. But I'm sure you probably had no difficulty in recognizing the various scenes and the various the civil rights movements and all the personalities that were portrayed in that video. Unfortunately, we have to have subtitles for our Hymn to Freedom because many of our characters are not known. We know how important history is to all of us. It's a legacy of a country, the people and its culture. Its identity. Memorial monuments and plaques are erected and placed in prominent places, while literature speaks to the achievements and the spoils of war and its heroes and heroines. It is the story and pride of a country, the pride of a nation. Likewise, one could say that a nation is its history. So what does it say to the Black and Indigenous peoples when their significant contributions to Canada are not documented in textbooks or in the curriculum in the schools? I think it says that they did nothing or that they are invisible. Canadian Black history is linked to American Black history and our struggles for identity and acceptance. It's one and the same. However, Canada has its own history. There is a documented evidence of the slave trade activity here in Canada as early as the 1600s in the person of a 6 to 7-year-old boy, the first known enslaved from Madagascar. Most Canadians in Ontario think their Black history is only about the Underground Railroad. Modern day historians like Dr. Afua Cooper are unearthing more unknown Canadian Black history that's been housed in our own archives for decades. The creation of Black History Month in 1995 was a catalyst for much of that work being unearthed or made known today. So Black history is still not included in the Canadian history books or in the school curriculum. The history taught is exclusive. It almost totally excludes anyone not from Europe. Canadians have been shaped mainly in 3 events. Canadians' history and persons have been shaped mainly by 3 events. The Indian Act, which took away Indigenous land, culture, and their way of life. The many wars, including wars between the French and the English, the Plains of Abraham, and the enslavement of Black Canadians and marginalization of other peoples of color. An example would be the Japanese treatment of the Japanese during World War II, and more recently, Africville in Nova Scotia. These 3 things created the white Canadian identity and is the basis on which white supremacy or white privilege is known. And that privilege meant that only whites could own property or go to school or to vote. Now, this is the Canadian reality, it's the Canadian norm. Yet only the second item, the French and English wars, or the other wars, are being taught in the schools. Now, change is not going to be easy. Public response to campaigns such as the Land Back and Black Lives Matter tell us so. It is time that Canadians realize that Black history is Canadian history. So you asked to be told about the genesis of the Hymn to Freedom project. And that was the culmination of all the thoughts mentioned before, the real comprehensive history of Canada. It was an attempt to change the status quo. History is a very important component of education. And education is fundamental to success and to change. Change has to be intentional, and change is also generational. It takes a longer time, but it does happen. Hymn to Freedom was written by Oscar Peterson in 1962 and was adopted by the civil rights movement there in the United States. So when I was president of the Caribbean Canadian Association of Waterloo Region and I planned Black History Month events, I used the version of Lift Every Voice and Sing that I suggested you have a look at. And then the thought came to me, why am I showing American history when there is so much in Canadian history that nobody seems to know about? I sort of waited to see if anybody would make a go of something, and nothing happened, nothing being done about it. I decided to do it myself. And so I came up with the Hymn to Freedom project. The images shown are only a small sampling of Black history from coast to coast. And I must tell you that I too was surprised at all that I read and continue to read. So everyone with whom I communicated my idea considered it well worth undertaking. And that included Lawrence Hill, who thought it was a very good idea and he would support me. Oliver Jones, who not only liked the idea, but he sent a copy of a letter that I sent to him to Kelly Peterson, widow of Oscar Peterson, and whom I immediately contacted, and she offered her full support. Locally, Dr. Carol Duncan referred me to Dr. Lee Willingham of the music department at Laurier University. And he not only agreed to be involved, but he immediately contacted Earl McCluskey, the videographer. Earl in turn referred me to Corey Butler of Zamar Productions in Toronto, who did the arrangement of Hymn to Freedom for the project. Other members of the team included Dr. James Walker, newly retired historian at Waterloo University, Mark Church of RIM, Lucia Harrison, CEO of the Multicultural Center, Lisbeth Haddad, Marcia Smelly, friends who collaborated with me to do the legwork. To all, I am truly grateful. On March 22nd, 2019, I saw the launch of Hymn to Freedom at First United Church to an overwhelming audience. People turned back because there was only standing room. Oliver Jones at first wanted to surprise me, but instead he called and asked me to book and make arrangements for himself and his wife, Jeanette, to attend the event. Then there was the Honorable Jean Augustine, who made the motion in Parliament for the creation of Black History Month. She attended and shared her story of how Black History Month came to be. In October 2020, the video was licensed. In November 2020, Hymn to Freedom, in recognition of Canadian Black history, was posted on YouTube. And it's still available to anyone who wishes to use it, free of cost. Hymn to Freedom is simply a way of highlighting some of the Black Canadians who made significant and lasting contributions over decades to what we call Canada today. Many are not known to most, but some of them are. Hugh Burnett of Dresden in Chatham, which is just a few miles up the road from here, a carpenter turned civil rights activist, paid a dear price for his activism. He lost his home, his business, his family, all because he helped a white gentleman who was having some car problems on the road, and so he decided to show his appreciation to you by taking him for a cup of coffee at the local restaurant. But the restaurant refused to serve him the cup of coffee in the town where he was born, where he went to school, where he had his business and served the same people who were turning him away. His campaign for racial equality and social justice resulted in the Fair Employment Act of 1951, the Fair Accommodation Act in 1954, and it laid the foundation for the present human rights legislation of Ontario and Canada. And you know the story likely of Viola Desmond of Nova Scotia, who challenged racial inequality in 1946 before Rosa Parks did so in the US in 1955. Yet, most Canadians know of Rosa Parks. They didn't know much of Viola Desmond. Robert Sutherland is not in the video, but it's worth noting because he's a Jamaican, the first Canadian Black lawyer, a graduate of Queen's University, who left his entire estate to Queen's University. It was later used to save Queen's from being annexed to the University of Waterloo. Sadly, his contribution was only recently acknowledged and at the university. His first practice was set up here in Kitchener, then called Germantown. And the story is told of the circus having come to Kitchener, and Sutherland attended, but he was singled out by the clown and subjected to racist attacks. The clown was booed, and it is said that later the circus was run out of town, which was very complimentary for Kitchener, perhaps even at that time. It is our hope that after seeing the video, the Hymn to Freedom video, people will be motivated to do their own research and learn about events and people they were previously unaware of, and that there will be appropriate acknowledgement and recognition of the lasting contributions made and that are still being made by the Black and Indigenous communities in Canada. Thank you very much. I hope you will enjoy the Hymn to Freedom project. And if you've got any questions, please.
Thanks, Loris. We'll watch the video and then we'll take any questions and comments. Mr. Bunn?
Joys every heart.
very poignant and powerful video, and an incredible project. And Loris, I'd be remiss if I didn't really give a heartfelt thanks to you and Marcia and Lisbeth for joining us today. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Councillor Debbie Chapman, who brought the motion forward suggesting that we do this at this meeting in February, and we'll be looking at whether this can be used on an annual basis as part of our ongoing work with respect to issues of anti-Black racism and Indigenous issues through our EDI work. But I also want to say and thank the three of you and others who I know are in the community who have played a leadership role for many decades on these important issues, and have brought them to the forefront of the community. And I just really wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the three of you who have been doing it since, I'd say, from the times when I was a young kid. And but that might make the three of you not as young as you are. So I don't want to say that.
Oh no, I have no problems with showing my age.
So with that, a heartfelt thank you. And there are a couple councillors that have some questions for you. So Councillor Michaud.
Sorry, I don't have a question. I just have comments. I can hold it for later if you like.
Councillor Chapman, do you have questions or you comments as well?
No, mine's also a comment.
Okay, so go ahead, Councillor Michaud, and then Councillor Chapman.
I just want to say, wow, that was amazing. It was so powerful. It was, I'm speechless, but I want to thank you and your colleagues for coming, Marcia and Lisbeth and Loris. Just a wonderful presentation, and thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, I also want to thank you. When I saw this, the article in the newspaper, it must have been a month and a half ago, and I thought, wow, that would be a great opportunity to play this at the city council meeting, and to, you know, reflect on a history that is often forgotten or ignored. And I just wanted to say I really liked what you said about that change has to be intentional, and I think this is so true. And thank you for reminding us of that. And thank you for coming in and for the great production you've put together. It's a pleasure to see you here.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hope you noticed that there was such a relationship to Waterloo, to the region of Waterloo, the number of persons. So you do figure very prominently in Canadian history.
Absolutely, and I think and I think it's particularly poignant that you know, we're doing this year on, it's 25 years since, in fact, Black History Month was dedicated in the Canadian Parliament, and it's also just recently that the Canadian Historic Moment was created for Oscar Peterson as well.
Yeah.
Councillor Marsh, you're next, I believe.
Thank you. I too just want to thank you, Ms. DaCosta, for your perseverance. I know this has been a labor of love for some time now, and you did it. Wonderful. Yeah, and thank you to your colleagues as well in making sure that our not only our community but the rich Black history that we have throughout Canada is highlighted. And let's now go to the school boards and try to get this into the curriculum. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Brvanovic. Loris, thank you so much for getting behind this and bringing this to us. And as you said, it's just a small portion of the contributions. Black history is Canadian history. It's our history as well. It shouldn't be separated out. It is part of who we are. And it was very emotional for me watching that, especially the part with Lennox Lewis, because I clearly remember his journey to that Olympic gold medal, how he just lifted this whole city up and the big celebrations that we had. So really want to thank you and also welcome Elizabeth and Marcia to council tonight. Thanks especially to Councillor Chapman, who had the idea of bringing this forward, and we as the city promoting this and getting behind this and being part of this. And thank you so much for this labor of love. We could feel the love that you put into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Mayor Urbanovic, and thank you for the presentation. It was quite impressive, and thanks to your colleagues. And seeing all those accomplished individuals was very inspiring. I know the mayor, and I know Michael Thompson out of Toronto, and all that stuff. So it was really great to see that. I only have one thing. I wish we could have seen more local individuals, such as my good friend Chris Johnson and all that stuff. But anyways, it was great to see. Maybe next year we can get a little bit more of a focus on some more local.
Well, we had a hard enough time trying to choose the images we used. That was really very difficult, but I think we must have done something, because recently Liz, Marcia, and myself have noted that many of those persons in our video have been spoken to of in programs on CBC or on the radio or in television. So I think we must have hit some of the marks.
Perfect.
But there are many beautiful, well, there are difficult times, but there are many persons who have done so much that I do ask you, if you can, to just even one image at a time, because the contributions have been phenomenal.
I agree wholeheartedly. I've been a big supporter of supporting our locals and raising them up and letting everyone know who they are.
Thank you.
Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And a lot of good points have already been made by my fellow councillors. Larice, thank you for presenting today, and of course, your contribution in presenting the video and putting together as well, and all those involved. I think it's a very poignant video that reminds us of so many prominent persons of color and Black Canadians that make our nation great, and also, not to forget, so many unsung heroes that have toiled in love to make our country what it is, and for the successes and the freedoms that we enjoy in our country. It's a culmination of hard work of all Canadians, of all faith, of all colors put together, and more importantly, right now, recognition and celebration of the Black Canadians and of their hard work. So thank you for bringing this forward and continuing to remind us. And as Mayor Urbanovic has said, this is a journey for us as a corporation as well to incorporate the celebration of this month and hopefully continue on showing this video in future years as well.
Thank you.
So
well, we do need to do this for our youth, and they do need to know that they matter, and that we can support them so they can succeed at whatever it is that they would like to whatever their education they'd like to pursue after basic schools, because they are the ones that will be here long after we're gone. And they need to know that their ancestors contributed and that they matter. So I think we do that really for our youth. Thanks again for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you again to the three of you. I think it was during the event earlier this month that was organized by the Caribbean Canadian Association, where they said Black, not only is Black history Canadian history, but Black history is world history, which is Canadian history, which is local history. And you know what, maybe there was an idea here tonight sparked that maybe the next version of this video, instead of being all Canadian, maybe is a Waterloo region version of the song. We'll see if maybe we can get some people inspired to work on that. So thank you again to yourself, Ms. DaCosta, as well as to Ms. Haddad and Ms. Smelly for joining us this evening.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, our next presentation this evening is from Maggie DeVoe to present the Age-Friendly Kitchener Action Plan 2020 progress report from the Mayor's Advisory Council for Kitchener Seniors. And there is a PowerPoint that will go along with that. Welcome, welcome, Maggie.
Thank you so much. It's going to be very hard to follow such an amazing and powerful presentation. But I'll say good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. Again, my name is Maggie DeVoe and I'm here representing Max. Tonight, we're pleased to present a snapshot of our 2020 progress report. Next slide. As a quick reminder, our mission is to ensure effective input to city-related programs, services, and policies as they affect older adults. And our vision is a city in which we can all live and age well. Next slide. You will have received or will receive the package of tools we use to drive our efforts and decisions. Those tools include our Age-Friendly Kitchener Action Plan with 4 themes and 19 action items in total, the decision-making lens, and finally, the annual action progress report. Next slide. The COVID pandemic has created unprecedented challenges in planning for and responding to the needs of older adults in our community. Social isolation has always been a concern, and the past year has highlighted the impact of isolation and the digital divide for seniors. Additionally, staff, volunteers, and City Council have faced unfamiliar challenges in adapting existing or launching new programs and services to meet the needs of residents while implementing new safety protocols. Despite these difficult circumstances, collaboration between municipalities, the region, and community organizations has never been stronger as we have worked together to creatively problem solve, plan, and leverage resources to assist older adults. Max, along with the older adult services staff, have remained especially committed to identifying and advocating for the needs of Kitchener seniors during this time. The challenge tonight is to present to you an update on the achievements over the past year. That challenge is not because little was done due to the pandemic, but rather because of how much was done. That said, Max wishes to recognize and thank members of City Council, staff, and community volunteers for their leadership and commitment to supporting residents of all ages throughout this challenging time. Next slide. This slide provides a quick review of our history from the initiation of the action plan through extensive community consultation to oversight by Max with city staff support. Next slide. The bullet points in each of the following slide represent just a fraction of the activity and input Max provided to ensure continued and further support of Kitchener's older adults during COVID. And I'll let you read these and the full report at your convenience, but I've pulled out some highlights. Regarding accessible and affordable neighborhoods, we stress the important difference between offering a service versus the ability to safely access the service. To that point, Max continues to advocate for older adults through network partnerships, strategy input, and expanding community center programming. Among the many actions taken to improve access to information, a new seniors landing page is now hosted on the city's website to ease navigation by older adults. And Max provided support in obtaining the grant that launched the technology device lending and training program, and thus assisting in the creation and launch of the virtual Bits and Bytes computer literacy training programs. Next slide. Max made a very quick move to the virtual model, and through that early adoption, we were able to realize some, among many things, a virtual seniors Christmas party, a virtual community conversations session with our mayor, our seniors expo that included 18 online presentations, and the fabulously successful socially distanced Senior of the Year Award recognition program. Next slide. To help minimize the impact of COVID isolation, older adult services staff adapted 21 existing programs to a virtual model, introduced an additional 9 new virtual programs, and made regular support calls to 380 center participants for a total of over 10,000 calls to date. Kudos to staff on that huge achievement. Next slide. So despite the very obvious concerns and impacts COVID has had on our city in general, Max is very proud of our 2020 achievements. And we again thank you for your continued support and commitment to the interests of Kitchener's older adults. Next slide. That's our questions. Any questions?
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Maggie. And we do, that was a great presentation, a great summary. And it was great to remind us of Sue Morgan's being the recipient of our Senior of the Year award this year. Councillor Johnson, you have a question.
I actually have a comment, so okay. You want to come back to me? Or
Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you, first of all, Maggie, for coming in and giving this overview. The question is, how do you imagine your work going forward in the post-COVID time?
Well, I think post-COVID, I think we've got a lot to do before we realize that. But definitely in future, I think this has highlighted for us just how impactful isolation is. And I know we've come to make presentations on different approaches to alleviating some of the isolation. And we've done such an amazing job with the help of City Council and city staff to bring programs that will continue to relieve some of that isolation in future. And I think, you know, certainly for, we have another year to review our action plan and to promote the actions that we have documented there.
Okay, thank you. And you guys do amazing stuff. So
thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Chapman. Back to you then, Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. And I had the honor of presenting some volunteer awards to seniors this year, and that was really wonderful. And I really enjoyed going out and having that opportunity to do that. And I want to highlight one of the pieces that was in your report, which was the call campaign to our seniors. Over 10,000 calls have been made to seniors in our community. That is really incredible. And, you know, we're all doing a lot of things on Zoom or using our technology in that more, but picking up the phone and making a phone call to somebody really is special. And I think that was an incredible initiative. Another piece that has been going on has been actual classes and that are available for seniors to show them how to use technology so they can do a Zoom call with their family members, et cetera, or participate in a community meeting. And I'm just thrilled with the initiatives that have gone on to support our seniors. There's always more things that can be done, but I'm pretty proud and thank you for your volunteer work with Max. It's an incredible group of energetic people really wanting to do good in the community. So thank you.
Thank you so much for calling that out. We do find it was an amazing initiative, the phone calls for sure, because there are still a number of older adults who that is the only connection that we can make. So thank you for calling that out.
Wonderful. Maggie, those are all the questions that we seem to have. So I just really want to, again, on behalf of council, not just thank you, but all of the members of Max for the wonderful work that you continue to do year after year in supporting our older adult community. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. You too. Okay. Our last presentation this evening then is from Judy Stevens-Wells to present the Compass Kitchener Advisory Committee Work Program listed as item 12.C.2 on the Committee of the Whole agenda. And there's a PowerPoint to go with that one as well. And welcome, welcome, Judy.
Thank you very much. Mayor Vrbanovic and members of council, it's a pleasure to be back again, speaking to you on behalf of Compass Kitchener. The first thing I should say is how pleased we are to have a large committee this time around. We had a committee of 7 members last year. We have a committee of 12 this year, 5 of whom are returning from previous terms on the committee and 7 new. So we're really excited to have a broad range of interests represented. The work plan that you see before you this evening is very similar to work plans you've seen from us in the past. We will continue with our coordination of the city's advisory committees, bringing committee members together twice a year. And we really want to build on the work that we started last year, looking both at inter-committee collaborations. There are a number of areas people have identified of shared interests between members of more than one city committee. And also gathering input from the various advisory committees as we refine the evaluation program that we use in evaluating the city's progress relative to its strategic plan. In terms of the citizen report card, as you'll know from last September's report to council, we're working with a new framework for evaluation. Having worked with the core leadership team in developing our evaluation criteria associated with each of the 25 actions in the plan. It's going to be a busy next few months for us with 7 new members on the committee as we launch immediately into the report card evaluation process. So lots of learning and reading for new members of the committee as well as old, but it will be a great way to launch right into the work of the committee. And then we look forward as well to the work that we'll be doing on the preparation for the development of the 2023 to 2026 strategic plan, and have already begun some preliminary discussions which will build through the year, looking at framing the public engagement program, beginning planning the engagement plan itself, the citizen survey, and ultimately leading up to our report to council on priorities identified through that engagement process. So we clearly have a busy year ahead of us. We're doing our best to adapt our work to a Zoom format, just like all of you have done, and we'll continue to learn and build on that. I don't know if there are any questions that you have for me this evening.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for your presentation, Ms. Stevens-Wells. And there are some. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you again, Judy, for all the work that you're doing to continue the work of Compass Kitchener and really to bring such a great depth and breadth to what you do. So thank you. I can vouch for the need for us to really, I like the fact that you are continuing to focus on bringing the different advisory committees together and trying to find alignment, because some of the committees that I sit on are already looking to how we can make sure we don't overlap the mandate of other committees, but also make sure that we can support the work of each other so that we make sure that we're getting it done the way that the citizens want. So I'll look forward to hearing how that goes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Those appear to be all of the questions or comments. So Judy, I too just want to thank you and the committee for your ongoing work. I think that the last year in particular has really demonstrated how having a good strategic foundation has really helped us as a municipality, not only in terms of dealing and responding to the pandemic, but also making sure we move forward on some of the issues that we know were priorities for the community, and ultimately we're going to be coming out of this pandemic on the other side, and we want to make sure that we are continuing to move forward on things that are important for our community. And the work of this committee, as well as our other advisory groups, is such an important part of this. So thank you for all your work.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we'll have a wonderful evening, and there are no further presentations, and there are also no delegations this evening. So we'll go into committee reports, and we'll begin with Community Infrastructure Services. Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, it's been moved by myself and second. Sorry, I'm still figuring out the. I'm still trying to find the report here.
But essentially, it's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Schneider.
Yes, and all items on the agenda be adopted.
Okay, thank you. And there are six items there. Are there any questions or comments on any of them? There not appearing to be any. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee, Councillor Singh.
Yeah, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sarah Marsh that the items noted in the agenda for Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee be adopted.
Okay, any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moving on to Heritage Kitchener. Councillor Gazzola, are you bringing that one forward?
Yes, I will. It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chapman that the report of the Heritage Committee be approved. There's only one item, and it deals with giving permission for the demolition of an existing detached garage at 17 Park Street.
Thank you, Councillor Gazzola. Any discussion? Questions? If not, I'll call it the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Whoops, sorry. Any unfinished business? There is none. New business, I'd brought forward a digital Main Street funding motion. Councillor Davey, you indicated you'd be prepared to move that since I'm in the chair.
I would, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Marsh, thank you. Do you want to comment on it at all, Councillor Davey?
No, I think it speaks for itself. It's much needed for our small businesses to move forward to be able to digitize and offer things, digitally that they, will really prior to the pandemic. So I'm happy to see this before us.
Councillor Gazzola.
Yeah, I just have a general question. I wonder if either yourself or Councillor Davey might just give a little detail. We're approving something or we're moving something. You know, just exactly what does it mean for our, pardon?
No, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. So our constituents can understand what we're doing. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gazzola. So the Digital Main Street program is an initiative that originally existed a couple years ago, pre-pandemic. And at the time, we partnered with the City of Toronto and others, and it was really to encourage downtown businesses and so on to go online. And some of them took advantage of that opportunity, but many did not. And you know, one of the learnings I think that everyone had was that many of these small entrepreneurs are so busy with running their businesses day to day, it's hard to get them to focus on this. The program and various permutations of the programs were reinstated both for helping businesses to make the transition and develop a digital presence. And then there was also subsequent programs that also were created to help companies that had a digital presence to sort of take things to the next level as a result of the pandemic. And so in this particular case, Digital Main Street ended up using people to work with small businesses and help them create an online presence if they didn't have one previously. And so they would support them through that. And it was done at no cost, covered by the provincial and federal governments for the work that those consultants did working with them. And in many instances, they worked with students from universities and colleges across the country. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Gazzola. I think you might have muted yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Now, as a follow-up, now is this program, is there any cost to the municipality, or is this cost of senior governments covered?
It was the cost of senior governments. There was no cost to us. And the one for scale-ups was similarly done. And there were companies locally, for example, like Flanagan Foods and others, that took advantage of that. The scale-up one was actually managed by the Toronto Board of Trade, and our Greater KW Chamber of Commerce was partnered on that one.
So that's going forward. How about this new program, or the continuation that you're discussing here? Are there any costs involved with that?
No, the intent would be looking to our partners at the provincial and federal level who run these kinds of programs to really just continue running the initiative going forward. So you'll recall, in fact, early in the pandemic, we had staff from economic development and some others from the organization that were working to support small businesses. And so one of the things that they did was actually refer people to Digital Main Street as part of the work that we did. But the cost for that program was borne by the province and the federal government.
Thank you.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you. I was just wondering, in your advocacy work that you've been doing lately, Mr. Mayor, with some of the upper levels of government and our local representatives, has this come up yet? And do you have any indication that there might be some uptake?
So it certainly is something that we've been speaking with them about already. And we're not the only ones to have brought it onto their radar. And we're seeing other municipalities passing similar motions to just give more formality to it. So it's the kind of thing that we're hoping we'll see be part of any provincial or federal budget in the coming weeks.
Okay, great. And so with it ending, I guess, next week, would there be, do you know if we have a waiting list right now? of businesses that have applied to be a part of this type of thing? And would there be any way of floating the program in the meantime, or no?
So I'm not aware of a waiting list. I don't know that we have any staff on the council meeting tonight. I don't believe Mr. Bloom's in here tonight.
It's
No.
fine. I just I think it's always a shame, and when programs that are successful, have a limited time period, they end. We see this in the nonprofit sector all the time, and it's really a shame when something works. I think it needs to be rolled into something that is more of an ongoing program. But it is how it works. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that front. Councillor Gazzola, you have another question, or is that from before?
No, I'm on question and answers. That's the next part
Okay,
of the program.
we'll come to you in a minute. Councillor Ioannidis on this.
Thanks, Mayor Urbanovic, and thanks for bringing this forward. I think this is an excellent example of showing everyone that our community and our businesses do need the support, and whether or not we're in a second wave, third wave, or even after the pandemic is over, that a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals are going to need support. So I'm very supportive of this.
Thanks, Councillor Ioannidis. Is nobody else on this? So all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And then we also need to deal with item 9B, which is the change to our council and committee schedule. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, you're moving that? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And now we get back to you, Councillor Gazzola.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, sort of regional questions, okay?
We'll try
the first one, the first one is a question that's been asked of me of constituents, and I ask it personally because I'm also concerned. We're getting, people are sort of anxiously awaiting vaccinations. And can you shed some light as to where people can go to get information as to where they stand in the lineup, and if there is a lineup, and what the process is? I don't expect you to give all the answers, but if you can, we can direct, even with our communications staff, if we can get some messages out there dealing with that, because that's the next big tackling project that we have in this community. So I'd like to see what we can do to help our constituents to know where things are happening.
For sure. Great question, Councillor Gazzola, and I can give a quick overview right now, but the best source for information is on the regional website. So www.regionofwaterloo.ca/COVID-19. And when you get to that section, there's actually a bullet with a hyperlink that goes specifically to vaccine information, including actually a chart that shows how it's all laid out during phase 1, 2, and 3. As you know, that right now, the biggest impact on the vaccines is actual availability of the vaccines, and as they flow from into the country to the provincial government, they come to the region. In our region right now, the only vaccine that we've been getting is the Pfizer one. We have not been getting the Moderna one. Part of that is based on the province using the Moderna one in areas that didn't have access to the deep freezer, for example, and sending that to areas where the deep freeze wasn't available. I will note and give a shout out at this point in time, just very briefly, to Christie Digital, who actually had a deep freezer that they didn't need anymore, and they actually donated it to Grand River Hospital to help them during this part of the program. So phase one has been primarily focused on people in long-term care, folks who are employed in long-term care, and caregivers, and getting them their initial and secondary vaccines. In the last week or so, you've been hearing from the province that they're looking at those who are, I believe it was 80 and above, who are the next group that they're going to be scheduling for vaccines. The plan is to use a combination of access points for the vaccine. It'll include a large site in each community. In Kitchener's case, that large site is Grand River Hospital, and the locations are being negotiated elsewhere in the region. Then there will be a lot of partnership with healthcare providers and pharmacies, much like with the annual flu vaccine. And then finally, there's some medium-sized sites and for lack of a better word, pop-up sites that are being planned that might go to large employers and into neighborhoods that particularly may need to be served in that regard. The phase two is slated to start in April, and that's when we'll start getting into people 75 and above, as well as essential workers. And then that'll take us through until some point in the summer months, when we'll hit phase three, and we'll get to the balance of the population that wants to be vaccinated. But all that, much of that detail, and again, subject to the availability of the vaccine, can be found on the website I referenced earlier.
Okay, thank you for all that. My second question is also a question of trying to get the region and ourselves working together. For many years, I came to council hoping to get a crosswalk across the LRT and the trainer area of Ward 3 that I represent. And we've finally got that all put into place after a lot of long struggles. But it's now in place, and there is a bit of a problem in that there's a ramp on each side of the tracks that the city of Kitchener looks after, but apparently the region has jurisdiction across the tracks, and there seems to be some confusion as to somebody doing it all or what have you. It would be nice. It would be nice to clear that up, and I know it wouldn't make sense for the region to come out and do that, but surely we can agree to work with the region that we would do it on their behalf. So we have things working well, but then the little piece in the middle has been forgotten. So I just give you that, if you could take that back to the region with you. Thank you.
Happily follow up on that. Thanks, Councillor Gazzola. Excuse me, Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions. My first question, I actually should have asked it a couple of weeks ago whenever we were dealing with the idling bylaw at that time. And my question is around a communication strategy for that, getting the message out to people, and whether or not we will be having some signage that actually shows that we now have a bylaw in place. So that was my question around that.
I see Mr. May has turned his camera on. So Mr. May.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff have been working on a comprehensive communications plan to make sure that the community knows that this bylaw is now in place and what the details are. We have, as an example, started to hand out a specific pamphlet in all of the school zone areas as our bylaw officers go to 8 schools a day. We get, as if any of you have seen it, a ton of parents pulling through those areas. And so we're able to distribute the brochure that way. We've also updated our overall community bylaws pamphlet, which has got a broad distribution and is also online. We're planning a social media campaign. We're also planning to reach out to members of the media and ask for their assistance in making the public aware of this. And we're also reaching out to relevant groups within the school board, so the environmental groups within the schools, to see if they can help in promoting the bylaw. In terms of signage, we do have signage in the school zones already. The question is whether or not we might strengthen that signage to explicitly talk about a bylaw and fines, and that no decision's been made, but it is something that we're looking at.
That's great. Thank you so much. I have another question as well, and it kind of relates to some of the questions that Councillor Gazzola was asking earlier. As we know, we've had pop-up COVID testing sites at both Victoria Hills Community Centre and at Kingsdale. I know that they were going to be operating, or my understanding is that they were going to be operating for 2 weeks. I was wondering if we know if those are going to be continuing. I don't, we probably, perhaps we don't have any stats on that, but I think I love the idea of them. I think we're putting them in places where they should be, which is really great, and just wondered if that would be continuing.
So, Councillor Johnson, I'm not sure who from staff might be able to respond to that. Okay, looks like it's Mr. May again. Go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Johnson, I have asked for a full report in terms of usage of the after the 2 weeks and a plan in place in terms of whether or not the other partners want to continue to run the program. I haven't received that yet, but when I do, I'll make sure that council's updated with that information.
Yeah, that's great. That would be great to know. And sorry, as one other follow-up to that question, when the mayor was talking about the sites for vaccinations, is there a possibility that we would, it kind of makes sense if we've used some community centers for COVID testing, perhaps having vaccinations in those spots as well? Has that been discussed?
Looks like Mr. Chapman's jumping in on that one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Johnston. Yes, that's been raised a number of times at the Regional Pandemic Control Group, and the response that we've been given by Deputy Chief Hilton is that they envision, as the plans become further developed for phase 2 and phase 3 of the rollout, that they may look to the municipalities to put municipal facilities on the table as vaccination clinics, likely in partnership with the community health providers. And so they anticipate that there will be a need. It's just not at that point yet in the planning where they've identified specific locations.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks. That appears to be all of the questions. So just bear with me 1 second. Trying to work my way through the cheat sheet. We've moved to first and second reading of the bylaws. Who would like to move the bylaws? Moved by Councillor Singh, seconded by Councillor Chapman. Thank you. Mr. and Madam Clerk, are there any additional bylaws?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for asking. There are 2 late starters coming from item 7A1 and 7A2. This today, reports of committee from Community and Infrastructure Services.
Great, thank you. So they have been moved and seconded that leave be given the mover and seconder to introduce the bylaws listed on the agenda, along with the additional ones, and that the same be taken as read a first time and stand referred to committee of the whole. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we'll move on to committee of the whole now, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Singh.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Michaud for the second reading of the bylaws. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Can I get a mover for the tenders? Moved by Councillor Davey. Any question on the tenders?
Looks like you have Councillor Gazzola and Councillor Ioannidis have questions.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, it's on the second tender, the building repairs for 91 Moore Ave. We're going, I think, to the third one on the list. Is there? I know you said that two did meet certain requirements. Can you expand on that or not? Is it possible to do that? Or?
So through the chair, I can't get into specifics in terms of each of the non-compliant bids, but there are mandatory requirements in terms of the submission of information. So examples would be, providing details related to experience and references and those types of things that are built into the tender. What I can say is both of the non-compliant bids were missing information in terms of their submission. And so in that case, we always go to the next compliant lowest bid, and that's why we're awarding to the third listed company on this award.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. The other thing I want to ask, I was really amazed by the number of respondents. There were almost 25 companies responding to the tender. It seems to bid well for this year at least. Does it not? In that, if we have a number of projects that we're going out to tender with, it looks like there are a lot of businesses looking for work, and I'm sure that helps with sharpening the pencil. So I just wondered what your comments were on that.
So through the chair, certainly there was a significant amount of interest for this tender in particular, and so that is a good sign as we start off the year. Usually the earlier that we go in terms of putting tenders out on the street, we obviously will get more competitive bids as people try to plan work, and so that's likely the case in terms of this project, and hopefully it's something that we continue to see as we put out more awards.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ioannidis.
I withdrew my comments or my questions. Councillor Gazzola asked for it.
Okay, I see no other questions. Both items have been moved by Councillor Davey. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm guessing Mayor Vanovic, you were in favor?
Yeah, sorry.
And that carries unanimously. So the first item, so from administrative report, Regional Waterloo Planning Works Project Team. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Galloway Sealock. I see no question. Oh, okay. All right. I see no questions. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Can I get a mover for the Compass Kitchen Advisory Committee work plan?
So
moved by Councillor Marsh. And all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So for exemption of Chapter 408 of the City of Kitchener Municipal Code, animals, can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Chapman. I see no questions or comments. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. For the Dog Designation Appeal Committee, can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Johnston. All those in favor? Opposed? And that too carries. And then there's just a for information item. Madam Clerk.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Ms. Chair Singh. I did have a question for the members of the Dog Designation Appeal Committee. I tried to raise my hand. It was too quick. I was too slow, I should say.
No, that's okay. I should have taken your time. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we received a letter from one of the proponents and or from the appellant, and I'm just wondering if the members of the Dog Designation Appeal Committee have had a chance to review it and if they have any comment or not. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'll look to staff for.
I don't think there is staff. I don't think Sarah's here tonight to talk to this. Is it Sarah? We just got that letter at 4 o'clock today when we were in another meeting. I had a brief time to review it, but if you have a specific question about the letter, Sarah, I could try to answer it. But if you're just looking for, I'm not sure what you're looking for information for us on. If you could be a little more specific.
Well, the appellant was looking for just an amendment to the designation, and before we go right ahead and just proceed, I wanted to ask if you had had a chance to consider it, or if you're confident that this is the way to go and that's it. And so I defer to you, and I assume Councillor Johnston was the other one there. So that's all. But
okay, I think I can speak for Councillor Johnson, but she can certainly speak after me. I stand on our decision, the initial decision with regards to this this particular hearing, and I think that the evidence in that case speaks for itself. I don't know if it's good to get into all that now, but I stand for our original decision on this.
May I speak as well?
Yeah, of course, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I stand behind the decision that was made, and that was our committee's recommendation.
Okay. Is there anything further, Councillor Marsh?
Councillor Gazzola has his hand up on this as well. Councillor Singh?
Yeah, Councillor Gazzola?
No, it's something that I would like you to come to if you could, but it's nothing to do with the dogs. No.
Okay, do you have a question on another item?
Yes, no, it's not really a question. I just want to make a comment, and maybe perhaps somebody that's knowledgeable there could just expand on it. I just wanted to ask a question that this is the first night that we're on our new system, I understand, right? And there was no paper involved. Is that correct?
None that I received. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. No. And the question I have, does that mean, I guess, that we no longer need to have the courier coming around and visiting us on Friday nights anymore? Is that? Can someone from staff?
Ms. Rabb?
Ms. Rabb?
Yeah. So that's correct, Councillor Gazzola. We've launched our e-agenda management system. And today is the first council meeting where the packages are completely electronic. So thank you for acknowledging that. I know staff have been working really hard to get the system up and running. They've had tremendous participation and collaboration across the organization, and collaboration from you as members of council. Change is not easy, and I know that you've all made time to learn the system. So the goal is no more paper packages. And so if you do have questions about the system or need assistance, I know Jeff and his team are willing to spend some time with you one-on-one and walk you through any changes that that are confusing or that may need some more assistance.
Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that in my opinion, it has worked extremely well. Here it is, 8:30. We're done our meeting. Everything, we've been able to follow everything, and I just wanted you to give you an opportunity to tell the public it's quite an advancement, and it is one that's going to save us dollars down the road and be much greener and friendlier for our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gazzola.
We'll definitely save some trees. Thank you, Councillor Gazzola. Councillor Michaud?
I just want to concur with Councillor Gazzolo on this. And as we went through the first information/training a week ago, I was a little skeptical on how this was all going to work, and it's been amazing. So I really want to commend the staff on a great job and the assistance that they gave anybody, including, well, especially me for myself, to navigate my way through this. It was easy, and I love it. I think this is no paper thing is wonderful. So congratulations.
Councillor Galloway Seelock's been doing this much longer all by herself without the available tools that we have on her own. So I think she's probably the most trained and well versed in this, and we will probably fumble through for a while, but I'm sure we'll get the hang of it as well. All right,
Through the
Madam
chair,
Clerk,
I would, sorry, one more thing, Councillor Singh, through the chair, I would also like to acknowledge that I hope that users on the consumer or the customer end find it easier to navigate as well. I know that it's been a challenge in the past to access and navigate our council agendas online. And so this one is accessible, fully AOD accessible, and we hope that it's as easy for users on the other end to use as well.
all right, Councillor Galloway Seelock.
Yeah, I just, considering I've been doing this for a while and had a different system in place and had to rearrange to the new e-agenda, it's been fabulous to work with. And the Leisure Fiche always had complications with it. And so this, the system so far is so good. I just wanted to say from my experience, it's working well, and thank you.
Fantastic. All right, I don't see anything else. Madam Clerk, are there any late starters?
There are none, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, in that case, is there a mover that the committee rise and report? Councillor Schneider, all in favor? Opposed? And the motion carries.
Great. It's been moved by Councillor Singh and seconded. Sorry, I lost you guys there for a minute. And seconded by Councillor Schneider. Thank you. Now my cheat sheet's gone. There we go. That the proceedings in the recorded pecuniary interest and conflicts taken in the meeting of the Committee of the Whole held this day as attached hereto and forming part of these minutes being the same are hereby adopted and confirmed. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion for third reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Ioannidis, seconded by Councillor Schneider. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Galloway Seelock, seconded by Councillor Singh. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.